So today we're going to be talking about document metadata and fields. So we're going to kind of go deep into everything. It was funny, the call we had yesterday, I didn't get through everything I was going to talk about, and I just feel like there was so much more we could have talked about. So we'll see how much we get through today. If you have questions, as always, please put them into the chat or the Q&A, and we're happy to take them as they come. Dakota, you want to introduce yourself here and we can get started?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Dakota. I'm a product manager here at Concord. And so I work more on the taking all of y'all's feedback side and getting that built into the product. So I'll be primarily in chat and Q&A and answering questions.
Awesome. And I'm Zach Kinsey, head of sales here at Concord. Lots of you already know me. It's good to see a lot of people that I know already. Um, just continue to do all things sales here at Concord and work with our customer team as well. So yeah, let us know how we can help. I do have one quick announcement here because I know I'm going to forget to talk about the end, so I'll just talk about it now. Concord will be going to, I myself, as well as some of our marketing team, will be going to Legal Week in New York. It's coming up on March 9th through the 12th. It's in New York City. We will have a booth there. And the reason that I bring this up is we do have some free passes. So if you would like to attend this event, I think it's the largest legal conference in the US, as far as I know it is. So if you'd like to attend this event, just let us know and we'd be happy to give you a ticket and welcome you at our booth and, just kind of hang out or whatever you'd like to do. So reach out if this is something that you can attend and we're happy to help. So feel free to email myself, Vanessa, Casey, Dakota, or you can just send an email to support, whatever works for us. So just get a hold of us. We'll take it from there. Awesome. Let's go ahead and jump in here to the actual reason that we're going to be talking today. So what I would like to do is dive into the many different field types that we have in Concord and the different reasons why we should or should not use some of those different fields, when to use them, when not to use them. So that's really the idea behind the webinar today. I'm going to start out by jumping into a document here. Did we do this from this document? I think we did. I'm going to jump into this document here, which is just kind of like my, go-to document when I'm talking about metadata. For those of you that don't know, you can extend the side panel. That's something that I keep showing to customers, and they're like, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. We added this when we made the changes for Horizon. We added the ability to do that. So just know that that's something that you could do. If you want to be able to read more of that information, you can. Um, so we're going to walk through slowly all the different field types. We're going to talk about some workflows at the end that you can do with the fields and generally just kind of jump in. Dakota, anything you want to add before we start?
No, let's jump in.
Sounds good to me. So the first thing is our agreement category, and a lot of these fields are going to be extracted automatically using our AI. So as long as you're on an AI-enabled plan, which I think a lot of our customers are at this point, these things will automatically happen. We do have that agreement category here. If you don't like the category that I put in, you could always come in and add some additional, or change it, put it whatever you want. We do have plans to, in the future, add some other things here because we've had a lot of requests on that. I don't have an exact timeline yet, but just know agreement category is kind of the first thing. Now, document type is pretty cool because a lot of people don't actually click into this and see what it's all about. One thing to remember with Concord, and we have a lot of customers that do this, you can keep track of any kind of document you want in Concord. It's not just for contracts. So maybe it's an offer letter, maybe it's a proposal, a PO, a receipt, like anything you want to keep track of in the system. Every one of our plans in the history of Concord is unlimited documents. So you can just keep as many documents in the tool as you want. And so if you want to start uploading those other things here and marking the type of document that they are, great. You can do that here in the system. The next field we have is parties, and this is actually a pretty important field in the system, especially when it comes to AI and filtering and reporting. The AI will automatically go and figure out who the party on that contract is, and it's going to fill that filled in for you. And one thing I want to talk about is the actual party library. So one feature that some of you probably know about, some of you maybe don't, is you can come into your automations. If you're in Horizon, that's in the settings. If you're in Classic, that's here at the lightning bolt. And you're able to see a list of all the parties that you have contracts with. And so I can just see these. My list is pretty clean because, I update it quite often. But if you wanted to come in here, you can see maybe you've got some companies that are very close. Like right here, I've got Oracle CX and Oracle Procurement. Maybe I want to merge those together and just have them be the same company. So that's what's going to show up on all of my documents. I can actually merge them together and then say, I want everything under Oracle CX, and then I can go ahead and merge them. So it's just a way to keep that list clean. That way, when you're going to build reports or search or filter, you have all those documents under that same third party. And just, yeah, something to think about. Dakota, any thoughts there?
No, I think if you are doing a lot of AI extraction, and so you may have a lot of variations, it's worth checking this periodically just to make sure that new variations aren't popping up. But this is something that we're seeing a lot of usage on. It's a pretty cool feature.
Absolutely. And we do plan to add a lot to this very soon.
Hmm.
I've seen the mockups for it. We do want to start keeping track of like how many documents do you have with each of these companies. Maybe you can create like a custom status for the company, like are they a current vendor or not a current vendor? So there are a number of things we are planning to release with this. Our team already has this in design. I don't know the
Hmm.
exact timeline yet, but just know that's something that's coming soon. So, so that is parties, party library. Next up, we have our description. Not a lot to say here. It's always good to have some sort of description. So if somebody comes into the company that knows nothing about these contracts, it's a great way for them to kind of quickly see what that is. The AI will create this for you on an AI plan. You can also put some information there. And I know you have some customers that use this for very specific reasons and have like, really detailed descriptions that they use, which is great. So yeah, just know that that's there. Next up, we have tagging. And tagging at Concord for many, many years was like the most powerful way to filter data, keep track of data, organize things. Like we really use tags for a lot of things in the system. That has changed quite a bit over the past few years. We have definitely gone more the way of custom properties and some of these other field types. That doesn't mean that we, don't like tags. Tags are still fine. I think the important thing is to know when to use tags. And so what I always tell
Hmm.
people is like using tags when things are just for really simple things. Like, hey, I want to know all my NDAs, which I could do that through contract type, but maybe you want to get a little bit more specific about this. So like for example, I have a customer where they have a bunch of locations and they just use tags to be like, hey, this location, I've got a tag for them, and I just tag those documents that way, and then I can filter by that. You could also do that with a custom property, but they're using tags for that currently. Dakota, I know that you have a lot of opinions on this. So when do you think people should use tags, and do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, so the thing about custom properties is you can do a lot of different types on them. So the ones that are most similar to tags, I think, are single or are multi select drop-down fields. So what I like to say whenever I'm helping somebody decide if they want to go the property route or the tag route, is if you have something that you want to have a location property, or you want to have a property that exists multiple times that people are selecting from a specific dropdown for, then let's go with the custom property route. But if you want something that's a little bit more nebulous, is going to be maybe you only have one or two options, or you are doing something that's a bit kind of a higher level tagging, then tags are the way to go.
Yep, agreed. You kind of buried the lead for custom properties, but that's okay. I'm just kidding. Giving you a hard time. 100% agree with you on that. So yeah, tags, very simple things, like you said, single input things. Definitely can still use tags for that. Other than that, we'd probably recommend custom properties.
Hmm.
Um, we do have the contract linking or document linking. Doesn't have to be a contract. So this is where you can come and basically link together whatever you want. So I can link to, I can amend, I can say if it's a framework agreement, supersedes, extends. So if I have a contract signed today, 6 months from now, there's an amendment to that agreement. This is an easy way for me to be able to go into any one of those contracts and see the relationship between them. So that's that contract or document linking. And we have many different options there. Question about how do we add items to the agreement category dropdown? It's a great question. Currently, there's not a way to do that. So they are locked. Those are the standard options. Do you know, Dakota, with the custom extraction, if that will change? Because that was the original
Hmm.
plan. Do you know if that affects it at
Yeah,
all?
So the custom AI extraction that's coming sometime likely next month is going to allow for us to set up a custom property to be extracted and added to this list. In the first version of it, what's coming out first, we're not going to be making any changes to the existing properties. So we won't be making the adjustments to the agreement category just yet, but that is something that is on the roadmap and that we're looking at doing. But as of today and as of anytime in kind of the next month or so, it's going to maintain that is a locked selection of categories.
Yeah. And from a sales rep, from my perspective as a sales guy, I'm always like, oh, we should just be able to add this, no problem. But then you realize like this actually affects millions of contracts that are in our database.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Yes.
well, we got to be very careful about how we add or remove things in the system. So I understand
Yeah.
that that's why they're taking their time on it. But I do think we will get there very soon. That is part of this whole custom extraction project that we're working on. So, yep.
Hmm.
Cool. Let's talk about life cycle. Very important part of Concord. To me, probably the one of the most important things in the entire system. And honestly, I think a lot of our customers would agree with me on that. So just being able to keep track of all of that life cycle information. So signature dates, effective dates, duration. This could be a period of time until a specific date, a permanent duration. So if you got evergreen contracts, always make sure to put that in. So just lots of different options here. And then we also have our renewal information as well. So you could say, hey, this renewal is going to happen when the contract ends, and then it's going to be a permanent, period of time. It's going to renew for 1 year, renew for 2 years, or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of different options here. If you're not currently coming in and kind of looking at all your options, I would recommend doing that because you might be able to get a little bit more specific about some of the contract deadlines in the tool. And then last of all, we have that early termination notice. And all of this should get picked up by the AI. It's part of that AI extraction, but we always recommend checking it and maybe you need to, make updates or changes to it as you go. Um, One thing to mention about that early termination notice deadline, this is super important because if your contract requires a 60-day notice, we want to make sure that that deadline notification starts, 120 days before the 60-day notice is due or 90 days before. Whatever you have it set to in your account, we want to make sure you get plenty of notification before the actual termination notice happens. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in that contract again because you're not going to cancel it in time, and that will be a problem. So make sure that that's always there if the contract requires that in the system. So that is our life cycle alerts. I'll just quickly show a couple things here. We do have that new calendar view. Let me show it in Horizon real quick. So this is something we've added in the past, I don't know, 6, 8 months or whatever it might be. So we have a calendar view in the tool. We have a list view. It's really great with how it works now. It also syncs directly into your calendar. So if you're using Google or Outlook Calendar, you want to sync these deadlines over there, you can do that. So a lot of cool functionality that we have here with that. Moving on to custom properties. So this is the big one. This is the one that we have really been trying to kind of get people to move towards. And the reason for that is just the flexibility that we have with these custom properties. So the story behind them is, for many, many years at Concord, our customers would come to us and say, hey, I want to be able to have a way to standardize my metadata in the system and also have multiple choice options. Because right now it's like I have to just put in a custom field. I have to remember what those field options are, and it's just not really an easy way to build out metadata in the system. And so we came up with these custom properties. We'll say, okay, you can create multiple choice. We have a lot of different types of properties, and I'm just going to jump in and show you what that looks like here. So here's all my custom properties that I have created so far on this account. As you can see, there's a lot of them. You've got a lot of different types as well. So I can give the new type a name, and then I have many, many different things to choose from. So for example, I've got short text and long text. I have number fields. I have a single and multi-select. I have a date and a date and time, a simple yes, no, which actually gets used quite a bit, a currency, and then also I have selecting users. Now, some of you might be asking, like, why would you want to be able to select a user? We've had a lot of customers who have the idea behind a contract owner, where it's like, hey, for this specific contract, this is the person or the people that own that contract or that document. And so we want to be able to add them to that, signify that they're the owner, maybe also build a workflow based on that field, do different things based on that. And so that's why we have the ability to select different users. Dakota, any thoughts there?
I think, yeah, I think you did a good job covering it. One of the uh, really cool things that is coming though with that custom AI properties is almost every one of these types. So everything except for the first round is not going to include the date and time or the selecting the user functionality, but all of the short text, long text, number, single, multi, and yes, no currency fields, all of those are going to be included in the custom AI properties coming out very soon. So you'll be able to set up the logic on what you want extracted, and then have that extracted when the rest of the AI extraction runs on your documents.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
Um, We've got a question here. If doing a multiple sign document upload, can all of the essentials be applied to all of the documents, including uploads such as parties, description, tags, lifecycle? So great question. Right now, when you do that upload, the AI is going to run on all of those documents. So the fields that have little lightning bolts on them, those are all automatically extracted. You can also, in bulk, assign some of the other fields that you may need, and then coming very soon, we'll be able to have the AI, the automatic custom properties run on all of these as well.
Yeah, and just to answer more specifically, the answer is yes. The only thing that doesn't get
Mhm,
auto-applied with the AI is tagging. The other things you
mhm,
mentioned would all be AI fields that will automatically fill in there. If you don't have AI in your plan, then of course talk to us. We can help you get that activated and talk to you about what that looks like. But the majority of that will all pull with the AI, and then you might just need to add a couple other things like the tagging. We do at some point definitely want to have auto tagging. That's something we will
mhm.
add with the AI, but just not quite yet. So, yeah. Awesome. So we'll come back to custom properties in a second because I want to talk about workflows, which really rely a lot on these custom properties. I'm not talking about approval workflows, I'm talking about system workflows. So just a second on that. The other thing to mention here is key terms. These used to be like my go-to. I used to really show these in demos because we didn't have all the other field types. So there's a lot that you can do with these key terms. The idea originally with the key terms is, let's say that you have a set of language, maybe it's a certain clause in a contract that's maybe not standard to you. So maybe it's a high limitation of liability or a non-standard indemnity or something that you don't normally agree to, and you want to call that out from the contract. That's why we came up with, we used to call them clauses. For those people that have been with us for a super long time, we used to call them clauses. We renamed them to key terms. And so it's basically where you can kind of copy and paste and put in information that you want to remember about that specific document. So that's the idea behind them originally. The other thing that's really important about them is you can also create things like payments and additional deadline alerts and all sorts of things. So let me start with an additional deadline alert here. Let's say that I want to set up a certificate of insurance deadline and I want to be notified to when that's coming due in the near future. So all I would do is create new key term. I put in the title here and then I can just choose when that's going to actually happen and I'll save that. So I have my life cycle deadline for this specific contract, but this certificate of insurance is actually going to be expiring at a separate time, and I want to make sure I get notified for both of them. So all I have to do is set up that deadline here under a key term, and it's going to send out my notification for me for that. The other thing we can do is payments. So you have a payment schedule, payment deadline. Maybe you want to keep track of a project or whatever it might be. You can set up those recurring events or other types of events here in the system. So this is a payment schedule. I could put in a description here if I want. And then I can also set up like, hey, this is a recurring event. I need to do a payment every 6 months from the start of the contract to the end of the contract. I need to show that this is going to be paid. I'm not collecting money, I'm paying the money. I'm going to put in the amount here. I could also do a percentage if I wanted to, currency, amount, and then before tax or all taxes included. So I've now set up this recurring reminder for this payment schedule that's also going to get sent out with my weekly reminders coming from the system as well. So I often get asked about how can we do additional deadline alerts for a contract. This is where that would happen. You'll do that through your key terms. Yeah. There is a way to also do it through setting up a property for that. I just find because every contract is going to be so different with the deadlines, I would
Mhm.
just recommend doing it here. But yeah, that's that. Moving on. Anything else you want to add there before I move on, Dakota?
No, I think you nailed it on the head, and I agree. If you need a notification with it, then yeah, going the key term route for setting that additional deadline is the way to go.
Yep, absolutely. Continuing on, I'm doing a time check. Okay, yes, this meeting goes quick. Um, Great. So the next field type here is a smart field. So the idea behind smart fields is these are fields that you're able to enter into a document that are basically like a placeholder for that document. So when you're setting up your templates or you're setting up a document that you want to send out to be signed, you can simply take those smart fields and insert them into the document. So Concord does come with a bunch of standard fields. We have signature fields. We have some standard data fields like checkboxes, radio buttons, things like that. And then we have what we call smart fields, which are fields you actually can create. So you can build any kind of field name you want. You can create that as a field. You can either do a number or text. Those are your two options. And then you can drag and drop that where you want it to go in the document. So that's the idea behind a smart field. As those are getting filled out through the system, the smart fields will automatically capture here in this section in the summary sheet. So you're going to be able to see like what the address is, and it's going to be filled as you fill that out in the document here. So that's the idea behind the smart field. Smart fields can also be used, so they can be used to kind of have those preset fields on your templates or your contracts. They can also be used with our conditional workflows. So if you're doing like a conditional approval workflow and you want to say, hey, if this contract amount is greater than that, then I need these people to approve it. The field type that you use for that is actually a smart field. So just so you know, there's some different ways that we use those in the system, but mainly used for if you're drafting contracts, negotiating, signing, like that's when you're going to use those fields, and usually it's going to be off your own templates. So that's that. Last of all, custom fields. Basically, don't worry about custom fields. Don't use them. That's a joke. Get rid of them. Don't use them. Um, we originally created custom fields because a lot of customers were like, "Hey, we want to be able to just keep track of X, Y, or Z in the system," which is all very reasonable, and we understand why people want to do that. We just have way better options now. You would now do that with a key term, or you would do that with a custom property. We don't recommend doing that with a custom field. The problem with custom fields is they're a one-time input. So I come in here, I put in a field name and a value. It's only on that document. It's not easy to keep track of. It's not easy to report on. So we just really recommend don't use these unless you have some specific reason to use them. So
Mhm. That being said, we do keep them around because for a small period of time in Concord's history, custom fields were the cutting edge. And so for those of us or those of our customers who have been around as long as Zach and have been here for the last 10 years, they have seen these custom fields get used, and we don't want to mess with anyone's legacy data.
yeah, yeah, that's why they're still there. If it weren't for that, they would not be
Mhm.
there. So yeah, absolutely. Just they're at the very bottom for a reason. Just yeah, you don't need to scroll that far. You're fine. Um, there's a question here about will there be a Smart Fields workflows tutorial in the future? Yeah, absolutely. We can do an approval workflow. We've actually kind of been
Mhm.
working our way there. So we probably should do like a create, negotiate, sign, and approval best practices. Alice is on this call. Alice, let's take a note of that. Maybe we even do that next week if we need something to do. So yeah, I think that could be useful because I know a lot of people have questions on um, what's the best practice for sharing documents through Concord and getting them signed and getting them approved. So happy to do that. I have a lot of best practices because I do it every single day. So that is where I spend a lot of my
Mhm.
time. Cool. This all sounds good. I do want to transition into a different part of the system, but anything else you want to add here, Dakota, before we move on?
We've got another question about, is there a way to display the external party first in the field? So the order that the parties are showing up in that parties field is going to be based on the order they're being extracted from the AI. So there isn't really a way to control that right now in the field, but that's an interesting request. So I can take it away and talk to our product team about that.
Well, Dakota,
Oh, do you
there is
know of
something
some?
that's a little deeper than this.
Okay.
Could we show them how to exclude their own party?
Oh, yes, that is a.
Because that may solve what you're looking to do.
Mhm.
So we do have in the system the ability to not show your party's name because it's
Hmm.
kind of irrelevant if all your contracts are with your company and you already know that. And if you're sick of like your company showing up first, you can actually just exclude it entirely. So keep me honest here, Dakota, because I think I've only done this one time. But I think the way
Hmm.
that you do this is you go into
Go
your
to
party
parties.
library and then you go to your company name, which will
Hmm.
be a party here, and then you can make you just
So
make it
you would make
internal,
it
right?
internal. That
Yeah.
one is already internal.
So if you go to your company name, let's say my company is
Hmm.
Accenture, then I come up here and I say make internal party. It'll pop
Hmm.
this up.
Hmm.
And it says Concord AI extractions will exclude automatically all identified internal parties. And then I click yes, save. So now it's not going to list those when it does the extraction. And
Hmm.
do you remember the exact reason we added that? Because I remember there was a few customers that had concerns with it, and I don't even remember why it was. But
I think
anyway,
actually it came from our own internal usage. We at Concord use Concord for all of our own contracts and vendor agreements, and it is something that was causing, I believe, it was an internal pain point that was raised, and so sometimes we get to fix our own issues, and that was one.
yeah, I do know there was a customer that asked about it too because they had a bunch of different entities that they signed contracts with and they didn't want them showing up because it was messing with their
Mm.
reporting. So they actually wanted that to happen too. So I know there's some customers that are using it too. But yeah, so that's there. So if you want to not see that first, you don't want to see it at all, you can make that internal. So yep. Look at this. Time flies. We always run out of time in these webinars. We have too much fun here, you know? Let's quickly talk about internal system-wide workflows. So a system-wide workflow is basically something happens in the system and then we trigger a workflow to take action. So what I mean by that is I'll just do a simple like legal department workflow. So I've got this workflow. The description here is this routes legal documents to appropriate folder and team. So I have a field in the system called department responsible. This is a custom property. And if it is one of legal, if it's assigned to legal, then we want to automatically move that into the legal folder. We also want to invite a certain person to review it and make them an editor. So that just kind of gives you the idea that you can automatically move things in the system based on contract type, department, project, really whatever you want. Because you can either use some of the standard data fields we have there in the system that the AI is extracting, or you can also use the custom properties that you're filling into the system as well. So if you want to do these like, hey, if this, then that, that is what we have the system-wide workflows for. Not everybody has access to workflows quite yet. That is part of our Horizon package and part of our newer plans. So if that's something that you're interested in, just let us know. But I do think system-wide workflows will be available for everyone sooner than later. So you'll probably be seeing those at some point. But yeah, just let me know if that's something you'd like to add. But I think that's really kind of taking it to the next level. And the companies that are using them, it's just very automated because they'll have their processes all built in. As people upload documents, they get assigned to a type and then they can automatically route them to the right places. So that's really the idea behind it all, is just to make it as automated as possible for sure. I did realize that there are a couple other field types we didn't cover. Let me just jump back in here real quick because we don't, I mean, there's some other fields like our signature blocks, which are fields, but they're not fields. So, you know, nothing a whole lot to talk about here other than they just go at the bottom of your documents, they get collected. And then I think that's pretty much it. We have our
Mhm.
approval workflows. We have, yeah, that's pretty much all the field types. Um,
We've
I
got
think we're
a
about out of
another.
time.
Mhm.
Okay, there we go. Another question here. I
Yes.
see. So can a report be run using smart fields? In Horizon, yes, right? I think we
Mhm.
added them, right? Yeah. So in our new system, you do have the ability to add smart fields. So any field type that you create in the system, including smart fields, will be added here. And then also in the reporting. And so you're going to be able to add that to
Mhm.
the reports and to that inbox view. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the answer
But
is
in
yes.
found in the classic experience, you are not able to. So it is one of the big perks of Horizon.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time again. We will do this again next week, and we probably will work through those create, negotiate, sign type of things, approve a
Mhm.
workflow. So if you're interested in drafting through the system, just let us know. And yeah, or if you have topics, like I said, let us know. We're looking for topics, so
Yeah.
hit us up, and we're happy to do a webinar and whatever you want. So yeah,
Mhm.
thank you all. We appreciate your thank yous and. We appreciate you all showing up every week. So hopefully you learned
Yeah.
something today and we'll take it from there. Have a good rest
Mhm.
of the day.